The Monaco Grand Prix, always uh, quite the spectacle on track, right?
Painfully.
But lately, it feels like some of the real drama, is happening off track or maybe over the radio.
Hmm.
This time, the spotlight's really on Lewis Hamilton and his Ferrari race engineer, Riccardo Adami.
Yeah, there have been reports, some buzz about tense exchanges, and that's exactly what we're going to get into today.
Right, so we're unpacking this recent news, looking at the communication between Hamilton and Adami during and maybe even after the Monaco race.
And it's important context, I think, that this is Hamilton's first season with Ferrari. Only, what, 8 races in?
Exactly. So these early interactions, they're under a microscope, aren't they?
For sure. So our aim here is really to look beyond just the headlines, try and understand what might be going on with this crucial driver-engineer relationship.
Okay, let's do it. So apparently throughout the season, there have been these sort of whispers of friction.
Right, like back in Miami, some people picked up on that tea break comment Hamilton made.
Yeah, saw it as maybe a bit terse.
Possibly. And Hamilton himself has, mentioned he's had similar back and forths with engineers before, even at Mercedes.
True. But Monaco, it seems like things maybe got amplified a bit.
Well, yeah, let's look at the specifics from the race itself. It's quite interesting.
Okay.
So Hamilton's running 5th, right? And he asks a pretty straightforward question. Something like, are they still ahead by a minute?
Yeah.
But the leaders.
And the initial response from Adami.
Just fighting, which, isn't exactly the precise info a driver needs in that moment.
No, not really. Clarity is key there.
Exactly. So Hamilton had to push, again, ask for a specific time gap.
And he eventually got it.
Yeah, Adami came back with 38 seconds. But, that initial vagueness, it's noticeable.
Yeah, in a race like Monaco, every second counts. Every bit of info matters for those split-second decisions.
Totally. But maybe the moment that really got people talking happened after the race.
Ah, right, the post-race radio.
Yeah, Hamilton reportedly asked Adami pretty directly, are you upset with me or something? Complete silence. No reply at all.
Whew. Okay, yeah, that kind of non-response definitely raises eyebrows, doesn't it?
It really does. And Hamilton, he actually spoke about it afterwards to Sky F1. He seemed quite open about the information he was getting, or maybe the lack of clarity.
What did he say?
They mentioned Adami saying something like, this is our race. But Lewis admitted he didn't really understand what he was fighting for at that point.
Huh.
Yeah, especially when he realized later he wasn't actually close to the leaders. He even suggested he might have pushed his tires harder than needed because the picture wasn't clear.
Right, which brings up that whole thing about team communication when the pressure's on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur, he did give a reason for Adami's silence, didn't he?
He did. He offered a logistical explanation. Said that on the Monaco circuit, they have pre-agreed zones for communication.
Okay.
And apparently between turns 1 and 3, where Hamilton asked the question, the procedure is to wait until the car reaches the tunnel before replying.
To avoid distracting the driver through those corners.
That's the reasoning, yeah, to avoid distraction.
Okay, so that's the official line from the team principal.
Right, and Vasseur was pretty adamant there's no tension. He said something like, they're not sleeping or having a beer, they're fully focused.
Right, full race mode.
And he insisted he was perfectly fine with Hamilton asking questions under pressure. That he even spoke to Lewis afterwards, and Lewis was apparently not upset at all.
But you still wonder, even with those communication zones, maybe just a quick copy or standby might feel better for the driver than just dead air.
That's a fair point, isn't it? Especially after maybe a slightly unhelpful exchange earlier in the race. Silence can be interpreted in different ways.
Definitely. And we should also probably factor in Hamilton's view of his own race.
Good point.
He started 7th, remember, because of that qualifying penalty for impeding Verstappen.
Right, so already on the back foot.
Yeah, and then he got stuck behind other cars, said he felt like he was in no man's land.
So kind of just circulating.
Pretty much. He felt his only real chance to make a difference was a safety car, which never came.
Right, so maybe these radio issues just felt more pronounced because the race itself was already frustrating for him.
Could be. It all adds up.
And looking at the bigger picture, the championship, well, Hamilton finished 5th, which isn't terrible in Monaco from P7.
True.
But he did lose more ground to Oscar Piastri, who finished ahead of him. The gap's now 63 points, I think.
Yeah, quite significant. So these radio interactions, they're happening while he's still finding his feet in a new team and trying to get back to the very front.
Exactly. It's all part of that integration process under intense scrutiny.
And this whole Hamilton radio situation, it was just one piece of the Monaco puzzle, really.
Oh, yeah, lots going on, as always, in Monaco.
We also heard reports about Alex Albon jokingly saying he owes George Russell something after some on-track moments.
Right. Bit of driver banter there.
And apparently there was another moment where Hamilton was reportedly baffled by a different Ferrari radio instruction during the race.
Interesting. So maybe more than one instance of communication questions.
It seems like it. It just really highlights the constant pressure cooker of F1 communication, doesn't it? In the cockpit, on the pit wall.
It absolutely does. And when you think about all the talk around F1 records, all-time points, race wins, win percentages, where Hamilton features so heavily.
Yeah, alongside Verstappen, Alonso.
Right. It just shows the level someone like Hamilton, a 7-time champ, operates under. Every single interaction gets analyzed.
Totally. And there was other news floating around, too, from that weekend, wasn't there?
Yeah, bits and pieces. Talk about Aston Martin's development progress.
Driver ratings from Monaco. I think Norris got a near-perfect score.
Yeah, Norris did really well. Russell, maybe less so. The talk about bungle.
Right. And analysis of how Williams and Mercedes' strategy calls maybe caused some chaos.
Mm-hmm. And there was even some mention of a failed experiment in F1 over the weekend, though not much detail on what that was.
And then the usual stats chat drivers with most points without a win, the penalty points standings.
Yeah, Verstappen leading that, a Haas driver climbing up, just gives you a snapshot of all the different narratives happening.
So wrapping this all up, what's the main takeaway for you from this Hamilton-Adami situation?
Well, I think it really just shines a light again on that incredibly high-stakes environment in Formula One.
Yeah.
And specifically how critical communication is. Even for someone with Hamilton's experience, moving to a new team means building that trust and clarity with the engineer. It's absolutely fundamental.
It really is. Crystal clear, timely communication seems non-negotiable for success at that level.
So here's something maybe for you listening to think about.
Yeah.
Just how vital do you reckon clear, immediate communication is in any high-pressure situation, not just F1?
Good question.
And what happens, what are the ripple effects when that communication link seems to falter, or even just feels inadequate to one person involved?
Yeah, think about that delicate balance, The
Mhm.
driver needing information from the team, but also needing to trust their own feel for the car, their instincts on track.
Exactly. It's a complex dance, and when it's not quite in sync, it can definitely impact performance. Something to consider.